get the thoughts of the former Armed Forces Minister, James Heappey, who is becoming a regular on the programme. Good to see you again, Mr Heappey. Your reaction to all of this? I mean, Catherine talking about how this is cutting through now on the doorsteps, and there is public disgust, really, at what your own colleague, Michael Gove, described as, you know, seemingly one rule for them and another rule for the rest of us. Is not a good look. Do you think it's fair that there's this distinction between those who've been engaged in betting that is potentially to profit inside trading versus those who are just having a bit of a dabble in gambling on politics?
Well, firstly, congratulations. But secondly, yeah, look, there is a clear difference. The public are right to be outraged at the Number 10 insiders, Conservative Party headquarters insiders, the police officers who had access to privileged information and used that to place a bet knowing that the answer was already set and that they were going to win. That is clearly unacceptable.
Yeah, but was Rishi Sunak too slow to call that? You know, he seemed to dither and delay, as is his way.
Yeah, I mean, look, probably I think he was. I think in the heat of the campaign, that was... There was no argument that said that was in any way an acceptable behaviour. A bunch of people around CCHQ, the Conservative campaign headquarters, and Number 10, who clearly knew what the date was, used that, used that inside information to place bet for profit. Now, what's important is to distinguish that from entirely different, entirely legitimate, entirely reasonable stuff where people have just put a flutter, you know, if they're in an unwinnable seat and they put a flutter on themselves, or in Alistair Jack's case where, you know, I think he placed 3 bets or something, 2 of which he's lost on, 1 of which he's won.
Yeah, but what about those people saying this morning, you know, that is actually unacceptable? Here he is doing a very serious job when the country's facing a lot of very serious challenges, mucking around having a flutter on the future of the country. A lot of people don't find that funny or acceptable.
Well, I don't think it's supposed to be funny, but I don't think it's...
I seem to think it was a joke. But he was talking to the BBC about how much money he'd made, £2,100. Well,
if only I had the money to be able to put a stake on sufficiently big to get that return on whatever he had, 5-to-1 odds. But he hasn't done anything wrong, and I just what I would just say, if I may, and I risk sounding a little bit trite, but a week tomorrow, in all probability, a new government is going to be elected. Not only a new government, but a new government elected with such a massive majority that Parliament will become almost meaningless. They will be able to do whatever they want. And with 7 days of the campaign to go, as important as the betting stuff is, as outrageous as the stuff around Number 10 and CCHQ is, there is a danger that the main parties who are putting themselves forward to form the next government, one in particular, are getting virtually no scrutiny of what they would do next Friday whatsoever, because this is sucking out all of the oxygen from the political debate at the moment.
Whose fault's that?
Well, I mean, it's it's the fault of the people who got it wrong in the first place. But there is a really important job of work for those of us who have kind of crossed the boundary and joined the commentariat, which is I'm much more comfortable being right now. You know, there is next Friday morning a new government will almost certainly exist. On the Sunday, the Prime Minister of that government will get on a plane to go to the NATO summit in Washington. Hugely important thing. There is a government to be appointed, work to be done. And this is important, and I don't want your viewers to think I'm in any way suggesting that it's not. Clearly it is. But whether or not it is the thing that should consume all of the commentary and debate so close to a major change election, I'm just not sure that's the case.
Do you want to talk about NATO a little bit? Farage is in the papers this morning saying that Zelensky should be seeking peace with Putin and trying to put an end to this, otherwise there'll be no young Ukrainian men left. Do you have a view on that?
Look, there were people in 39, 40 who made the same case. You know, it's not our fight, it's not our war. You know, we're going to sacrifice a generation of young Brits, you know, to save France, Poland, wherever. I'm afraid I could not disagree with Nigel Farage more profoundly. I find his parroting of Putin's talking points to be incredible for somebody who seizes the patriotic mantle at every opportunity.
That's the same as what Boris Johnson said not so long ago.
No, I saw that. I mean, I think what when Boris was talking about Crimea, by the way, comments which I would have disagreed with at the time and still disagree with now, but he was talking about the Ukraine's EU trajectory. I don't think that should have ever been used in reference to what was also an illegal invasion of sovereign Ukrainian territory when Russia took Ukraine. But the fact that Boris wrongly said that then doesn't mean that Farage is in any way justified in saying now that somehow Ukraine had it coming when because they were seeking NATO membership. What I hope happens at the NATO summit the week after next, whether it pleases Farage or not, is that a really bold offer is made to Ukraine that says, look, your future is in NATO and we're going to accelerate that journey. Because where Farage and I perhaps do agree is that at some point there does need to be a peace, but it's not a peace that completely ignores Ukraine's sovereign right to recover its territory if that's what it wants to try to do.
OK, James, thank you very much indeed for that.